What do you get when you cross Steven Spielberg, Peter Jackson, and Nickelodeon together? You get The Adventures of Tintin. Based on the popular comic book series, this was a stop motion animation film that came out the same year as Rango. And I remember kind of being interested just because it was the Nickelodeon movie and because I'd heard a lot of good things about it. It was a massive success at the box office. It's currently Nickelodeon's second highest grossing movie. And also the fact is, yeah, there was a lot of pathos to the film for Nickelodeon movie, given the fact that Steven Spielberg, I thought was just the executive producer, but no, he also directed. And yeah, this is a good movie. I can't say it's great, but it is good. Here's the plot. In the 1950s, I think it's the 1950s. If it's not, I apologize. Tintin, played by Jamie Bell, is a reporter seeking every story that he can, and when he happens to buy a model ship at one point or another of the legendary unicorn pirate ship, a tycoon, a mysterious tycoon, played by Daniel Craig, is seeking to buy it from him. Eventually it's stolen, and the tycoon is immediately who Tintin suspects of the theft, especially when a man who warned him of buying the ship before the tycoon could get to it ends up murdered. So then Tintin realizes what actually was being sought is a small metal container which has a scroll inside it with a poem involving the something involving the unicorn. Eventually Tintin is taken prisoner by the tycoon and ends up on a ship where the drunken captain, played by Andy Serkis, is a hostage of the tycoon, and the two have managed to escape and set off to try to find the other vials containing scrolls that will help to unravel a mystery involving the unicorn years ago before the tycoon gets to it. Can they do it? So, yeah. Something that I think a lot of people are still not that into stop motion animation films. Despite this movie's success and despite the success of the Polar Express, it's still something that people struggle to get behind. And the reason being for that is because animation doesn't exactly look natural. There are times, though, however, where the animation does manage to kind of fool you when it's not showing you holding on a character's face too long. There are times where this does look pretty realistic, and backgrounds can also look realistic too. So that's something to really admire, if you ask me. Something to appreciate. And some of the physical comedy in the film, it gets pretty funny. I mean, you understand that it's not exactly the way that it could probably work, because it's a motion capture film. It couldn't carry over to real life, but at the same time, you can feel the weight of it more at times there, much like how you felt a lot of the physicality in Rango. I don't think this has anywhere near the same energy or craziness Rango did. At the same time, though, it's not the same kind of movie as Rango, and for what it is, it does still work. If I have any complaints whatsoever, it's the fact that maybe the mystery itself, while kind of interesting, doesn't have as grand a scale as I think it could. And then also, you have comedy bits with a wacky police duo that don't really work that well either, and a pickpocket storyline that only vaguely relates to the story. That when it went back to it, I understand where it ended up going. There's a small bit of the movie where it ends up putting a lot of focus on the bit with the on the bit with the duo and trying to find the pickpocket, and for the most part, up until it ended, where I saw where it was going, I understood why it brought it back to that. I couldn't. What it still didn't quite fit in the confines of the film, and even then, I feel like the climax maybe could have been a little more action packed. Even though the action in the climax, it's done really well. But then again, you have characters so routinely getting shot and killed in this film, one where you would not think in a Nickelodeon movies, particularly in a flashback sequence involving pirates, but then at the same time, you kind of make it an effort to not have any characters really die during the climax, and you wonder, like, this doesn't feel like the same kind of. This doesn't feel like the same movie that established that this is a universe where people can die, and I feel like death would be the more realistic case of events in certain ways. And yeah, there's a strange message about the fact that the captain is a drunkard and he can't function because of that, but then like he gets sober and he doesn't remember anything, and he has to get drunk again in order to remember, and then he gets judged for becoming drunk again and giving up the sobriety. It's a weird message. I mean, it's a kid's film. I realize it's not trying to go deep into detail about it, so I can't be too upset about it for that reason. So yeah, again, a lot of what is here is impressive. A lot of what is here is entertaining. So yeah, any small complaints I have, and while the movie wasn't exactly for me, I mean, granted, it's definitely being an Indiana Jones type adventure by the guy who did Indiana Jones, and it maybe feels too kid friendly at times, but at the same time, there is a strong amount of admiration that can be given to this film for what it is and how it works. So, set your course for adventure, and I think you'll enjoy it.